Hey everybody, how's it going? It's P-Bogues here once again, bringing you a video about hyper turbos. So it's been quite a while since I made a video, and this one is going to be a little bit different here. In the past I've done something similar to this by kind of turning it into a test, but this time around I'm going to do a series based off of a hyper turbo test, and what you see in front of you right here is going to be part 1. Now, how I'm going to break this series down is pretty simple here. Basically, how I teach my students is I kind of start them off, work on their fundamentals, slowly progress them into thinking a little bit deeper with theory, getting their ranges down pat, and moving from, pre-flop stuff to post-flop stuff, and even going as far as, creative lines, different lines to take versus recreational players versus regs, and all those kind of things that just overall turn into a better poker player. So what you're going to find in this first series, it's going to be pretty simple for this first part. It's not going to be anything too complex. It's going to be some questions that you might know, a few that you don't, and I'm going to end this PowerPoint with giving you a question kind of as like a homework assignment, something you could figure out a formula and post it in the comment box, and I will give you the answer at the end of the start of the next video. And I'm going to end it with telling you what some of the other questions in the future will consist of. So why don't we just get started here, and we'll go on from there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read off the question to you guys, and obviously I'm just not going to necessarily stop talking. I'll give you guys about 10-15 seconds to be able to pause the video without seeing the answer, but I suggest that all of you guys, after reading the question and seeing the choices, because it is going to be multiple choice, to freeze your computer, pause the video in a situation where you can take some time if you need to and figure out what you think the best overall answer is going to be. No rush here. Take as long as you want, and let's get started. So first question is going to be 25 big blind effective stacks holding ace-5 offsuit in position versus a random player. And when I say random player, I mean we know absolutely nothing about this opponent. You've never seen the name before. You've chosen not to shark scope him, or his shark scope is blocked. You've never played any hands with this guy ever before, so you're clueless. So when you're holding ace-5 offsuit in position versus that kind of player, we min raise and the opponent 3-bet shoves all in. What is our next move? So to kind of make it a visual here, we open, to T40. He 3-bet shoves all in, and now we have a decision to make on basically the very first hand of the game. You have to think that 25 big blind effective stacks is usually going to be the first hand of the game, or in a situation where maybe it's the second or third. Is it going to be A, we call, B, we fold, C, we should have limped pre-flop, or D, we should have 3x pre-flop and called all in, so we would have had better pot odds to make the call. So once again, I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds to kind of freeze the video. Take your time, and good luck. Alright, so let's see what the answer is here. The answer is going to be B. We fold. Population tendencies tell us that recreational players tend to shove tighter at these effective stacks. Our 3-bit flatting range should look something like ace-7 suited plus, ace-8 offsuit plus when regarding ace-x hands. Now I know I say the word recreational player, but it's always good to treat an unknown as somebody who's not going to be capable, just so we don't overplay certain hands like ace-5 here. So ace-5 is going to be a fold, and let's move on to the next question. Alright, next question here is random villain is opening 30% in the small blind. PFR, for all you guys who don't know what that means, it's pre-flop raise if you have a HUD. What percentage of the time should we be 3-bet bluffing non-all-in? Is the answer going to be A, 20%, B, 10%, C, 5% of the time, or D, we shouldn't be 3-bet bluffing them at all? Once again, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to pause the video, and we'll figure out the answer in a little bit. Alright, so let's see what the answer is going to be. Drum roll, please. This is a graph. In theory, what 30% pre-flop raising is going to be in the big blind. And I say in theory because, yes, if you put 30% into PokerStove, or in this case Flopzilla, this is what it's going to look like. On the flip side, you can't necessarily suggest that they're only opening with the top 30% of value. So it can be a little more spaced out. It could be a little more balanced with bluffs and air is bluffs and value as well. So that's why I say in theory. You never really want to look too much into it, but at the end of the day, it's safe to say that a tighter villain is going to be opening with more value than not. But once again, you never want to make that concrete evidence. So the answer is going to be D. When somebody is opening only 30% of his range in the small blind, his range is going to consist of mostly value holdings. And once again, I say in theory. By 3-bet bluffing, all we are really doing is building the pot with the weaker holding out of position against the superior range. So when somebody is, let's say, opening less than 55 to 60%, I just don't think it's a good idea to be 3-bet bluffing them at all, because the issue is we're going to be 3-bet bluffing somebody who has a pretty strong range, and what's going to happen is they're going to be flatting us more often than not, let's say compared to somebody who's been raising 90% in position. So what we're doing is we're playing we're building a pot out of position with a weaker hand against what we know in theory as a stronger range, and it just doesn't make sense, right? So when somebody is very tight in the small blind, we just want to 3-bet for value. You want to kind of stay away from 3-betting as bluffing for sure, unless you see them start to adjust, start to raise a little bit more. And then once we see that adjustment, we can then 3-bet bluff. But with 30% PFR, definitely don't want to be 3-bet bluffing them. On to the next question. Alright, here we go. Verse A reg. We are holding AK suited, ace king suited at 23 big blind effective stacks out of position, and our opponent opens to T40. What do we do? Now, as you see, the word reg is highlighted. Obviously, it means that it's very important to this question. So is it going to be A, ship it? And when I say ship it, I mean get it all in, baby. So is it going to be A? Is it going to be B, 3-bet to 100? Is it going to be C, 3-bet to 95 or smaller? And when I say smaller, I mean 85. That's probably as low as one should go. We're talking D here, 3-bet to 120. E, both B, C, and D. That should be an and, not an or. That is a typo. And finally, F, both B and C. So once again, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds, and good luck. Alright, let's figure out what this answer is going to be. The answer is going to be C. Now, you do see some regs 3-betting to 100 versus recreational players. And that's because they call it a bit too wide, and stack sizes are set up a little bit better for barreling off. So what we're doing there by 3-betting to 100 is that when a reg is 3-betting somebody out of position, they have a very balanced range. They have both value and they both have air. So when we are 3-betting to 100 with value hands, we're basically building the pot in a situation where we have the best holding, which is something that we always want to do against a certain kind of player that is going to be calling a little bit too wide in 3-bet pots that are that are not all in. On the second hand, it's a situation where when we're playing when we're 3-bet bluffing them, it allows us to set up stacks a little bit better, where we can barrel off by betting flop, turn, and river, and we're setting up stacks in a very, very good way, which makes it profitable just to shove rivers without risking too much. Now on the flip side here, versus a reg, they usually have solid range. They have a better base of their ranges. And when you're making it 95 here, it allows us to not only play a little bit more poker versus these players, but it also allows us to happily fold when, let's say, we 3-bet bluff with somebody versus a reg with a bad hand. Let's say Jack 4 suited, and they shove all in over the top with us with a 4-bet, and we're pretty happy to fold, and we don't lose as much money because one thing that we know about regs is that they like to 4-bet a little bit more than, let's say, a recreational player would do. And the reason why we're going to 3-bet ace king not all in versus a reg, because we know that they 4-bet. So when we're 3-bet not all in with ace king against somebody who's 4-betting, we're gonna get it in really good a lot of the time, as long as we've already set up that dynamic, because once again we're 3-betting with a really balanced range. So overall, you want to be able to bet to 95 or 85 or somewhere in between versus reg, and that's going to be ideal. On to the next question. Alright, here. So, out of position versus a random player, 25 big blind effective stacks. Villain is min-raising to T40. What hand should we not 3-bet bluff not all in with? And a theme that you can already see here is that a lot of this stuff is pre-flop, right? And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that's how I'm going to set this video up. We're going to start with pre-flop, post-flop stuff, and then get into more complex stuff, because that's how a coach should teach a lot of his students too. When they need to be broken down and start back up and get their fundamental base in like set up correctly, where they really need to understand how poker works, and to basically plug some of those leaks they've been playing with for a very long time. So that's how I'm trying to set up this video as well, and turning it into a quiz. So let's see here. So it's going to be A, 3-2 suited, B, Jack 3 suited, C, King 7 offsuit, or D, 9-4 suited. So once again, what hand should we not 3-bet bluff not all in with? I'll give you guys a few seconds, and we'll figure it out in a little bit. Alright, here we go. The answer is going to be C. We want to be 3-bet bluffing with the bottom of our calling range, which is going to be hands like 3-2 suited, Jack 3 suited, 9-4 suited. King 7 offsuit is a hand that is going to have better expectation by being flatted versus a random opponent. King 7 is the type of hand where it's not necessarily a value 3-bet, and it's definitely not a 3-bet bluff. And those kind of hands, if you're 3-betting those kind of hands, you're kind of merging your ranges there, and that's never a good idea. So I think that with a hand like King 7 suited, it's just definitely way better to be flatted, and overall it's going to see better results in the long run. So the answer is going to be C, and let's move on to the next question. Alright, so that was pretty much all for our pre-flop action here, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be leaving you guys with a question that I want you to answer and basically put into the comment box, if you guys don't mind. One of the main issues with a lot of students is that they don't really understand the formulas of the game of heads up sit and goes. Now this is a pretty easy formula, and it's something that you should definitely know, because it makes decisions on rivers a little bit more easier when you start to get better with hand reading and understanding how much of the time you have to be right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up with a question. I'm going to give you the answers that the correct answer should be, and please write in the comment. And for my very next video, I'm going to give you guys the answer to start my part 2 of the series. So let's get into this question here. So board is King 10 3 3 5, and for this example I didn't use, and I'm sorry about that, I don't know why that keeps popping up, sorry about that, guys. So I'm not using suits for this example because they're really not needed, because the hand is basically, we're not really hand reading in this hand, we're basically just understanding what the math is here. So board is King 10 3 3 5, and we are holding 10 9. The pot is 280 on the river, and the opponent shoves all in for another 150. So what percentage of the time do we have to be right on the river? And I'm not going to give you guys the formula. It's your job to either ask a question in a forum, talk to a poker buddy, and try to figure out what this equation is. But I'm going to give you the most important things that you need to know in this question. One of the most important things here is the pot size. You really need to know that the pot size is 280. And you really need to know that his river bet is going to be 150. So he bets on the river 150. If it's a shove or a bet, it doesn't really matter in this circumstance. And those are the two main things you need to know. So, is it going to be A, 51%, B, 26%, C, 78%, or D, 48%? And remember, you can round up if necessary. And good luck, guys. So before we end this, I'm just going to kind of talk about a little bit about what to see in the next video and then in the next couple videos to come. So let's get into that a little bit. So future quizzes will consist of limping scenarios. Now, I'm really going to try to get into some complex stuff here, with just kind of, giving you guys new things to add in your arsenal. Things that will make you a better poker player and see better results overall. And limping scenarios is going to be just simply figuring out what ranges you should be limping with. When limping is going to be better than min raising, or when limping is going to be better than open folding. A lot of you guys just like to open fold your junk hands, your bottom 10%, but versus a lot of players, limp stabbing is going to be way better. And I find a lot of people just open fold. And in hypers, there's just too many better ways to play it than just open folding. In position, you're giving your opponent just too much of a free ride here in this situation, in my opinion. ISO ranges for value and as bluffs. So ISOing isolations. What does that mean? It means when your opponent limps, what do you do? Are you only raising with value? Are you raising as only bluffs? Are you doing both? And if you're doing both, what hands are you considering value? What hands do you consider as bluffs? These are very important. You don't want to be raising hands that aren't considered value and aren't considered bluffs. Once again, you're going to be merging your ranges, and that's not going to be a good idea. So I think you really want to kind of get a grasp on that, and we'll go into that as well. Post flop, both in and out of position. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Check raising, barreling off, some hand reading involved, stuff like that. Limp stabbing more than one street, all that good stuff. Probing. So probing, what is probing? Probing is when, let's say your opponent opens in the small blind, he c-bets, we call, he checks turn, and then we bet river. That's probing. Or in a situation where he raises pre-flop, he checks the flop, and we decide to bet the turn, and sometimes river as well out of position. That is probing. When to do it, when not to do it, when to watch out for traps, hand reading abilities when people check back flops, what could be in their range, all that good stuff as well. Very, very important. Shallow stack poker. A lot of players struggle so much in this, and I'm not talking about if you're a turbo guy and now you're talking about 25 big blinds and less effective stacks, because guess what? Hypers is 25 big blinds and effective stacks and lower. So we're talking about, let's say, 13 to 5 big blind effective stacks. What to do? Should we be limping more? Should we be open shoving more? What kind of player should we be just open shoving with? What kind of player should we be min raising with? That's going to be something very, very interesting, and that's going to be a lot of tough questions for you guys, so good luck with that one. And finally, getting creative with regs. There are certain things that that a lot of players have to do against recreational players, and there's a few things that regs know that these kind of players do. For example, let's do a quick example real fast. Population tendencies let us know that donking on the flop is usually going to be a weaker range. So why not donk with value versus reg? So you kind of want to be creative. Since the population tendencies say it's a weaker range, well, do it with value. Let them see that you're doing it with value. Once they see that you're doing it with value, then you can switch it up and do it with air and really balance your ranges. Be very, very difficult to play. Stuff like that, questions like that are going to be coming in the future, and you guys are going to have your hands full, but I promise you'll learn a lot, and I hope you have fun with it. I hope this first series wasn't a bit too easy for you guys. And yeah, leave comments if there's anything that I'm not getting in here that you guys think that will be kind of cool. Maybe some questions regarding something else. Please fill out the comment box along with the question, and I will talk to you guys later. So good luck, and I'm out.